You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we have a lot to talk about in this next hour, but I do want to say goodbye to Loni Anderson. We lost Loni Anderson yesterday. Many of us know her from WKRP in Cincinnati. Burt Reynolds is, I don't know if they were married. I think they were lovers, but I'm not sure if they were married, but we remember them as the big Hollywood, one of the, from in my era, big Hollywood couples was the Burt Reynolds, Loni Anderson. Sadly, she died at the age of 79, right before her 80th birthday, at a Los Angeles hospital. Cause of death, we're being told, is a quote prolonged illness. So the prolonged illness could be anything. It could be cancer, heart disease, kidney failure. We don't know. But sadly, she's gone. Now, she was a part of WKRP in Cincinnati from 1978 to 1982. Actually made me very interested. That show made me interested in radio. But that's not where I got my radio itch. That came later. But, she was the blonde woman. But what we liked about her was they didn't make her stupid. I don't think. I think they made her smart. Usually there's always, like the Suzanne Summers and Three's Company. Although her role, Chrissy, actually did, they did allow her to show that she had smarts too. But in the 80s, a lot of it was sex appeal, and the blonde was the one that was supposed to be the funny kind of whatever. But, she was in Stroker Ace and yeah, I think they were married. I think Loni Anderson did marry Burt Reynolds. I think they were together in Stroker Ace and et cetera. But very interesting about Loni Anderson is she was interviewed, I believe, on Fox News about her being a sex symbol. And let me see if I have part of that interview where, I don't know if I have it, where, I guess she had done a poster and somebody had asked, why did you do a poster? Why did you, I guess, show yourself as, like a sex symbol? Why did you perpetuate that? Or, and she was like, I want my grandkids to one day see me and I could say I looked like this. And I might not have gotten the words exactly, her quote, but I respect that. Now, I don't know if she's ever did any nude photos or whatever, but you see a lot of individuals now, they take their pictures, they Instagram, they post everything. And, it's interesting. I know I'm aging and I know I've lost whatever looks I had. For me, I never thought I had looks. So I really am not going through any period of mourning. I was never the most popular. I was always class clown. I went to 12 schools, had very few boyfriends, if that. So it was, for me, my identity wasn't my looks. And I'm very grateful for makeup and hair dye and for me to do whatever I'm able to do, Spanx. But, I see, family members say, but I look like this. I used to look like this. And nobody believes them. And you don't have pictures. And I never let people take pictures of me. I didn't want to be in a photo. I didn't have confidence in the way I looked. Now, maybe it's the way I was growing up. I was always told I was stupid and ugly and whatever. But, now I'm kind of like, when I do see an old picture, I'm like, I didn't look that bad. And one big regret I have now, being middle-aged, is I didn't embrace the gifts I had with my youth. Now, I ran and I skied and I tried to be as athletic as I could, but I could have maybe done more. I might have been able to even compete, but I didn't do that. I sang. I used to sing. And I didn't pursue that because I didn't think I was good enough. Why not? Why didn't I? To hell with that. If I knew then what I know now, but had the body and the talent that I had in my 20s, I could be a superstar. But youth is wasted on the young. And so now what individuals are doing, and I know, we look at the millennials and the Gen Zs as they post too much. They're too much into selfies. They're too much into, I don't know if that's all bad. I think it's ridiculous when you're falling off a mountain trying to get the perfect selfie and dying. I think selfies have gone too far, especially from a safety point of view. But if you want to capture a moment when you were happy, when you were good looking, why not? Now, I remember taking a lot of pictures of the kids on phones and things like that. I just don't know where a lot of those pictures are, which is why I started to post a lot more on Facebook, because at least Facebook kept a database. Now we have the cloud, but I have regrets that I didn't document, as much as I could have of my past. Now people are Instagramming, they have these stories, or they're Facebooking, or they're capturing stories. I would have loved to capture the moments in the anatomy lab, although you didn't take pictures of bodies or whatever. But in terms of, the work, I would have loved to grab a picture of sitting there taking a test, and seeing me and my colleagues, or me coming off a 36-hour shift, leaving an elevator. I would have never let a person take a picture. But now this stuff is being documented, although people don't do 36-hour shifts in the hospital anymore. And so my recommendation to you all is take that picture, take that video. I mean, make sure you're not naked and things like that, and make sure it doesn't come back and haunt you. But you could wear a bikini, and you want to take a picture of you in a bikini, do it. Don't take a picture of you sopping drunk, but why not document these things? And make videos for your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I'm starting to collect and save some of these, like my shows. That's why I started Facebook Living, because I have so much advice I want to give my future family. But if I'm not around, God forbid, how do I do that? So, you have a lot of value now in 2025. Put it on video. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, I'm watching what's going on in Texas. This whole gerrymandering thing as it pertains to redistricting districts. We've been hearing about this in other states. Was it Illinois, where you saw these little kind of squiggly lines? And I always thought, I was always kind of confused how congressional districts were made, because you would think they would be pretty blocked square. But no, apparently you have these districts where they're kind of looping around and squiggly lines and trying to capture and I thought, well, maybe it's because there's a river or a forest or no. Apparently states have been doing this for a while. It's called gerrymandering, where they are able to, I guess, ensure the votes that they need or have the number of votes based on populations. And in fact, the DOJ found that 4 current Texas congressional districts were unconstitutional because, so this is being reported by the Texas Tribune. They're saying that 4 of Texas congressional districts are unconstitutional. 3 are 9th, 18th, and 33rd because they were coalition districts where Black and Hispanic voters combined to form a majority. They say the 29th, while majority Hispanic, was also unconstitutional because it was created by its 2 neighbors being coalition districts. Now, you guys might know more about, the Voting Rights Act and the 14th Amendment and, apparently, and how coalition districts are not supposed to be a part of that. But I'm really confused why we can't have independent, non-Republican, non-Democrat districts. Although California gerrymandered, Illinois, I think New York. And so redrawing district boundaries to ensure you have Democratic strongholds or Republican strongholds is apparently a trick that has been going on for a while, for years. Now, not cool. Yeah, I'm not a fan of I'm American first. Apparently, gerrymandering dates back to 1812, according to Newsweek, where Governor Elbridge Gerry of Massachusetts enacted a law defining new state senatorial districts. They said this consolidated the Federalist Party vote in a handful of districts, resulting in disproportionate representation for the Democratic Republicans. The district's contorted shape was said to resemble a salamander. That's where gerrymandering came from. Governor Gerry and a salamander, leading to the term gerrymandering. Now, the problem is if Democratic states are doing it, Republican states are going to want to do it too. Now, where things are starting to get a little bit more dramatic is we're hearing that Texas representatives aren't showing up. That there is this where Texas House Democrats are fleeing the state so they don't have to vote on this. Now, we've seen this before. I think, didn't they do this a few years back where they said we're not going to show up to the vote? The problem with that is they are being paid by the taxpayer. So Governor Greg Abbott informed Texas House Democrats that he would attempt to have them removed from office if they do not return to Austin and do their job. So apparently these legislators left the state Sunday afternoon so the Texas House could not have a quorum. If they don't have a quorum, then laws can't be passed. You need a certain number of lawmakers to consider and pass legislation under chamber rules. aiming to halt all legislative activity for the remainder of the special session slated to end later this month, according to Texas Tribune. Now, they want to stop the new congressional map that Texas is drawing, especially with the DOJ flagging 4 of the districts unconstitutional. Governor Greg Abbott says, I think 1 or 2 of these districts is going to give Hispanics the majority. So it's not anti-Hispanic, it's actually helping the Hispanic population. But I don't know much about that. You probably know more. But my issue with all this is every state, I guess, can play games with this. Now, the whole purpose of the congressional districts is we have 435 seats. And to make those 435 seats, you need to have a equal amount of population represented by those. So if you ever look at Nevada, it looks like one of these congressional districts takes most of the state. Well, because they're trying to ensure that of our seats, we get as many as an equal representation of people. It's a tricky process because we don't want to just add more congressional seats. But if they're going to keep changing the border or the borders, it's not going to allow a more independent, free. If the Democrats are in charge and they're going to alter the state districts so that Republicans don't get a voice, they're going to be outnumbered because of the way the district is drawn. That screws over, and it is screwing over millions of Republicans in California. But same thing. Texas does that too. The Democrats feel that they're not going to have representation. So these congressional districts were decided for a reason, so that there's a fair and proportional representation in the House of Representatives. Now, redistricting is how this is happening, where congressional district boundaries are redrawn every 10 years as they look at the U.S. Census to account for changes in population and ensure roughly equal representation based on population shifts. The states are responsible for drawing their own boundaries. They'll use state legislators or independent commissions, and they have to look at the population because each district is supposed to have relatively equal number of residents, hoping to achieve equal representation for the constituents. And the Voting Rights Act tries to ensure fair representation, especially for minority communities. But when you're having this, well, what we're going to do is we're going to draw this, and we're going to draw this, and we're going to curve it over here and make it look like a salamander, it does. It starts to raise questions as to how fair the system is. But if all these other states are doing it, of course Texas is going to. I really prefer that all states stop that. You divide it up equally. Here's LA County, here's San Bernardino County, here's Orange County, and maybe you divide it up by count. I don't know. But the way it is now is people feel like they don't have a voice. Now, is that, though, inevitable? You have red states and blue states, which I can't stand. I can't stand that idea that it's red and blue because I am blown away at how many people might not think the way the state wants to say, well, we're blue or we're red. But people are starting to get a little bit ticked that they live in a state and they don't have a voice. There are millions of Republicans in California, and they feel like they never get a voice. That's why there's this big push for California to split or secede or do something, because people feel like they don't have a voice. Now, I guess Texans are concerned about that too. But where I do agree with Governor Abbott is if you are a tax-paid representative, you've collected campaign funds. You vowed and swore that you would uphold your office, and then you skip out and you don't show up, then you get removed. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOGD. D-O-C-D-A-L-I. Yeah, D-O-Doge. Yeah. Oh, boy. I hope Doge doesn't make cuts on my show. Not really much to cut. I don't really spend a lot, as you can tell. Still my voice. No, I'm not doing voice lessons for y'all. The BMJ, British Medical Journal, John Hopkins, and other public health sources have said that the third leading cause of death in America is doctor screw-ups. Do you believe that? Are we that bad? Is medical misdiagnosis the third leading cause of death in America? They say medical misdiagnosis may cause 256,700 U.S. deaths annually, ranking it above stroke and Alzheimer's. Really? They say cancer, infections, and vascular events account for 74% of serious misdiagnosis-related harms. This is according to Week 99er. Women are 50 to 60% more likely to be misdiagnosed during heart attacks, with symptoms misattributed to stress or fatigue. I agree with that. I think people are misdiagnosing women's heart attacks left and right. And we've spoken about that. You know, expecting a woman to have chest pain going to the left arm, don't expect that for a woman or a man all the time. They could be having a heart attack if they have shortness of breath, if they have very bad fatigue, jaw pain, neck pain, nausea, vomiting, sweating, dizziness. You got to always think about the heart. Left shoulder pain. Think about the heart. They say ER diagnostic errors result in 350,000 deaths or permanent disabilities per year involving stroke, sepsis, or embolism. 12.5 million Americans are misdiagnosed annually, equaling 1 out of every 20 outpatient visits. And 66% of patients who seek a second opinion receive a different or refined diagnosis, showing major weaknesses in first-line clinical accuracy. How stupid are we? Okay, I don't understand. And I got trained really well. It wasn't that I was trained in the best of the world, but I got so much hands-on experience. I had so many access to patients. I had so many doctors who would talk to me and would tell me to watch out for pitfalls that I thought every other student got the same sort of teaching. How do you not think of a heart attack when somebody's having chronic hiccups or chronic burping? How do you not think of a heart attack? How do you not think of a brain bleed if somebody's having neck and back pain and they have high blood pressure? How do you not think of these things? But a lot of doctors don't. And these numbers are going up as more and more people are using telemedicine. You know, you're hearing cases where people call up telemedicine saying, I'm having heartburn, acid reflux, give me prescription strength acid blockers. Doctor goes, okay, here's your acid blocker. Have a nice day. Whoa. Did anybody examine their heart? Why are they having acid reflux? What's their diet like? Is it a tumor? A tumor. Now, I was trained at a time when doctors were getting sued left and right. So I was trained to not miss something that could come back and haunt the patient or come back and haunt you in a lawsuit. I don't know if the newer doctors are being trained that way. I trained my medical students that way, but I don't think everybody else was. Students are telling me the best lecture I ever gave was the one on how to protect yourself from lawsuits. Because there were cases they would have never thought turned out to be a lawsuit, and they were. And it's not that you fear the lawsuit, you fear losing a patient. But people fear lawsuits too. Diagnostic error. How are we making a mistake? How are we diagnostic error? How are we doing missing sepsis? How are we missing stroke? How are we missing embolism? I'll tell you how we're missing it. I was an ER doc in the 90s. So if I needed to order a CAT scan, I ordered the CAT scan. But after all the changes with healthcare, I heard that ERs would penalize you. And insurance companies would penalize if tests were ordered and the result was normal. So people were telling me we can't run the CAT scan until criteria were met. And I'm like, but sometimes the human body is a textbook. Remember I told you I had a patient that walked into an urgent care I was working at, and I was new to this urgent care. And a nurse who had been working there, a 20-year veteran nurse, said, oh, he's a repeater. He always comes in with his migraines. I got it. I'm going to give him his Demerol and Phenergan shot. I got this. And I'm like, can I evaluate him first? Ooh, she didn't like that. And mind you, I like nurses. I mean, nurses are the backbone of our medical system. But she's like, excuse me? He's been coming here for years. I know him. This is what he needs. I go, this is my license. I'd like to evaluate the patient first before you give him Demerol and Phenergan. I don't understand why you're reinventing the wheel. Well, she had her fit. I walk over to the patient. He goes, hi, doc. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I got to tell you, this is the worst headache I've ever had. As soon as somebody says that, you have to check for subdural hematoma. I don't know where I learned that, who taught me that. But I'm like, if this is the worst headache you've ever had, I have to look for a bleed. I do the scan. He not only had one bleed, he had two. Bilateral. And I look at the battle axe nurse. And I appreciate nurses, and I was good friends with her later. But I'm like, you see why I want to look at them first? She's like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was, we saved his life. So if diagnostic errors are happening because we're getting lazy in the medical profession and we're overwhelmed and we need to rush people out of the bed, and we're like, you know what? He's just here for this and that. I almost let a person go before diagnosing her with a heart attack. I told you about that lady that came in with a UTI. She wasn't feeling well. We were slammed. So I had her do a urine test. After I examined her, I got her out of the room to open up the room, and I had her sit in a chair, still within the ER, but I had her sit in a chair to wait for the results and to wait for the prescriptions. She was appreciative we got her in, being that there was so much going on. Accidents, gunshot wounds, heart attacks, etc. But she said, I'm really nauseous. Can you give me something for the nausea? I'm like, we have an older lady in her 60s with nausea. I gave her something, and then she started to get short of breath. I'm like, we got to check your heart. it showed that she had a heart attack the night before. You could see the signs where it's early versus hours have gone. She came in thinking she had a UTI. She did, coincidentally, but she was feeling bad, not so much for the UTI, but because she had the heart attack was silent the night before in her sleep. So if somebody goes, Daliah, if you missed that, if you just treated the UTI and she went home later and had a heart attack, that's on you. They're not wrong. That would be on me. And I found it. Thank God. Thank the Lord. She told me she was nauseated. But, and I'm not saying every UTI is a heart attack. But if people are missing these and it gets counted as a diagnostic failure, then I'm not as surprised as the numbers. Because many patients don't know what they're having. They say they're having acid reflux. They say they're having bronchitis. Remember I told you that woman who said she had asthma and she actually had a heart tumor. But we really need to do a better job of making sure we aren't missing these cases. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So one thing that I kind of am a little concerned about is I'll get these patients where they have multiple drug allergies. I had a patient this weekend, allergic to sulfa, allergic to penicillin, allergic to cephalosporin, allergic to the ciprofloxacins or the floxacins, allergic to, and the list went on. And I'm like, well, if I have to treat you, let's see what you actually have. Let's confirm, because I don't want to give you something that you're going to be allergic to, and I can't. And maybe you don't need an antibiotic. But if you do, we have to figure something out. And I am blown away at how many people think they're allergic to a medicine who aren't. Now, I'm not saying if you have a drug allergy right now, you're allergic. If you think you're allergic to the medicine, you're allergic. I remember being able to take sulfa as a kid, and then as an adult, whoa, it was crazy what happened to me. It looked like I was getting petechiae bleeding underneath the skin. I was urinating black. It was some scary stuff. So sulfa, I'm sorry, I'm not taking sulfa. And in fact, I told my kids, don't take sulfa. My mom's allergic to sulfa. I'm allergic to sulfa. It's our kryptonite. Okay, Mom. See, they understand that. It's our kryptonite. If I say it's bad, they'll do it. But if I say kryptonite, they're like, ooh, okay, then I can't do it. It's like Thanos' flip of the wrist and his, oh, okay. Thank you for the Thanos analogy, Mom. I got it now. And so when I ask patients, I go, okay, you're allergic to penicillin. What does it do? Well, they go, I get a rash. Are they truly allergic to penicillin? And this is starting to become an issue because we have such a demand for non-penicillin antibiotics. And because there's like a 20% cross-reactivity with the cephalosporins, many of us doctors will avoid the cephalosporins as well. So now somebody who says they're allergic to penicillin can't get two powerful classes of medication. Yet I had a patient this weekend who said, I'm allergic to penicillin. And I'm going, okay, what antibiotics can you take? They said, well, I could take Augmentin. Augmentin is amoxicillin in the penicillin family plus clavulanic acid. I go, so you can't take penicillin, but you could take amoxicillin clavulanic acid. Why? What's your penicillin allergy? I don't know. My mom says I'm allergic. So we have millions of people who think they're allergic to something and they won't, and they don't know. And so they avoid it. And now they're starting to narrow down their choices. One issue that I had told you guys years ago that I think might have happened is one, many of these kids didn't have a bacterial infection, but they had a viral infection. And with viral infections, the rash may come on a couple days after the fever. So parents bring the kid in saying they need amoxicillin or ampicillin or whatever. They got a sore throat. They may have ear pain. Then they get a rash 2 or 3 days later. Was it the virus that they had where it just erupted? Or was it the antibiotic that they took? So when I hear that a kid got a rash from the antibiotic, it could be an allergy, but it might not have been. The other thing, too, is we used to give a big shot of penicillin. For some people, that might have been too much. And so we used to give a 1-shot dose of penicillin, and then you'd be covered. Now, by the time I was in training, they start to phase that out. We wouldn't just give kids 1 big shot of penicillin. But there are many individuals that are older, the baby boomers, who said they got sick from penicillin. They got sick because they got such a big boost of a shot, a dose, 10,000 units, then yes, that might have been a reaction to the shot or the preservative in it. So my concern is we have many people who think they're allergic, millions of Americans who think they're allergic to a very powerful class of antibiotics. In fact, I was doing my infectious disease rotation at UCLA in the 90s, right before I graduated. And infectious disease in UCLA, the majority of the patients had HIV. You know, I thought I would be seeing more elephantiasis or trichomoniasis or other things, but the majority. So I got to learn a lot of HIV medicine. Well, we had one patient who had syphilis, and syphilis, usually the first line treatment is penicillin. Well, this gentleman he had neurosyphilis, so he had severe syphilis. So what we had to do was give him penicillin. He was allergic, but they gave him Benadryl and steroids so he wouldn't react to the penicillin because penicillin was the main line to treat his neurosyphilis. We got him better. But I remember the attending saying, I don't care if he's allergic to penicillin. We got to save this guy's life. And so I think we're using the allergy denotation maybe a little too liberally without verifying. And I'm of the mindset, for those of you where it wasn't that obvious, can we verify it? Well, we can. An allergist could test. We could do patch testing. We could do trial testing. There's ways to test if you're allergic to penicillin. And it's not that I want millions of Americans to go and run and go get tested. But if if you didn't have difficulty, so a true allergy could be anywhere from you having a rash to you going into full-blown anaphylaxis, tongue swelling, lip swelling, difficulty breathing, going into shock and dying. And your early allergies could just be a simple rash. And then the 4th or 5th or 17th time you're exposed, it becomes a worse allergy. So we still take penicillin rashes as possible allergies very seriously. But my worry is I'm seeing a lot of misdiagnosis. I'm having patients call up, say, my kid is allergic to the antibiotics they gave him. And I go online and I see what the other online doctor did. And I'm like, well, maybe this is a virus. Maybe that's where the rash is coming from. So we need to figure out if the kid's rash is the antibiotic or the virus. I've gotten pretty good at determining a penicillin allergy rash. It's very, very blotchy. It's widespread. But some viruses can still do the same. I can't say I'm 100% sure. Now, if you verified that the person had strep, you verified they had an ear infection, you verified that there could have been a bacterial issue, right? Then that also kind of lends credence to you might be allergic. But if it's somebody calling online saying, yeah, my kid's ear hurts. All right, here's an antibiotic. Well, how do you know? Even COVID can cause ear pain. So my concern is as these other antibiotics are starting to grow resistance, and boy, are we getting a lot of resistance, I want us to go back to old school if the patient can handle it. Now, do not try it on your own. Never, if you think you're allergic, right now you're allergic until proven otherwise. And doctors are going to also take that path because we just spoke about lawsuits. Nobody's going to want to give you a medicine you could be allergic to. But if you're one of these people where you seem to be allergic to everything, you really should see an allergist and find out if these are true allergies, if there's something that can make you less atopic and less susceptible to allergies, and to figure out what actually you can take. It really kills me when I have a patient that says, well, I really can't take anything because I'm allergic to everything. That I don't want them dying of sepsis. I don't want them having to be immunocompromised just so we can get the antibiotic into them. So we really do need to we really do need to break this down. Penicillin allergies are preventing a lot of good, solid treatment. And we have a lot of penicillin overuse, Z-Pak overuse, Cipro overuse, doxycycline. See, now I'm seeing everybody use doxycycline. The problem with doxycycline is you're really not supposed to use that if you are pregnant or if you don't know if you're pregnant. So we're seeing a lot of people on that antibiotic. And, did we make sure you were pregnant first? So don't take anything you're allergic to. But if all you had was a mild rash, maybe get that reconfirmed with a doctor, medical provider, 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.